Megaprojects have always captured the imagination and ambition of nations around the world. But not all of these projects have been successful in achieving their intended goals, leaving behind a trail of unfinished dreams and unfulfilled promises. From poor management of funds and failure to foresee problems, many luxurious constructions are now left to the homeless and casual strollers. Here are the list of biggest megaprojects that never got finished. Doha Bay Crossing. Qatar had revealed the first major delay to its massive build program, supposed to be completed in time for the 2022 FIFA World Cup. This $12 billion megaproject, comprising 3 bridges interconnected by subsea tunnels, is not included in the government's recently released priority list for the next 7 years. This is according to MEED, a business intelligence publication that tracks projects. 6,000 vehicles per hour are instead expected to use Shark Crossing. This will provide commuters with an easier route and also ease the burden on the Corniche coastal road, which will also be redesigned and expanded. This important transport link displays a unique combination of efficient underground construction and iconic design. Plans submitted to Qatar's Ministry of Municipality and Urban Planning by Calatrava deviated from the tunnel-only solution previously suggested, instead of presenting a variant with a bridge at each of the 3 ends of the tunnel system. Nasser Ali Al Mawlawi, the president of Qatar's Public Works Authority, launched the Doha Bay Crossing in December 2013. Ghost Town, China. The Jiwin International Project, one ghost town in China and also a failed construction project, spans more than 1,800 acres. Since 2014, this megaproject has sat abandoned. It also highlights that humans may create something wonderful but abandon it later on. Hebi Real Estate Development Group Company Ltd. was put under investigation by local authorities for corruption and started to accumulate billions in debt. In 2015, the photographer Kai Kremerer traveled to China to explore ghost cities. His photos show endless rows of high-rises with barely any indication of human life. These photos might remind people of what lockdown cities around the world looked like during the coronavirus pandemic. The unoccupied units constitute a significant portion of China's enormous housing market, which is twice the size of the U.S. residential market and hit $52 trillion in value in 2019. Data from the most recently published China Household Finance Survey shows that 21% of new homes, some 65 million, were vacant. In 2017, Hebi Real Estate Development Group's business had come to an end, canceling the original project. The biggest construction project was seized and tens of thousands of homeowners were not allowed to move in. London Garden Bridge. A Transport for London inquiry showed the Garden Bridge Trust spent £161,000 on a website and £417,000 on a gala for the now-abandoned project. The design of the bridge, covered with trees and flowers over the River Thames, cost more than £9 million, and the trust paid its executives $1.7 million. Around $43 million came from the public's pocket. Doubts began to surround the project, overseen by Boris Johnson, after it lost the support of London Mayor Sadiq Khan in April 2017. London Garden Bridge was officially abandoned in August of that year after a review recommended it be scrapped. The idea of a floating paradise as a memorial to Princess Diana was suggested by Joanna Lumley as far back as 1998. The plan gathered momentum in 2012, and the following year, then Mayor Boris Johnson supported the scheme, pledging the Transport of London would help deliver it. It was also backed by then-Chancellor George Osborne. Planning permission was granted in 2014. The scheme had been beset by problems over its funding and lacked support from some residents. Finally, Dame Margaret Hodge concluded it would be better to ditch the project rather than risk uncertain costs. Mr. Johnson was called before the London Assembly to give evidence of the project's failure. What a way to remember a princess who preached conservation. Please share your thoughts in the comments section below. Rayang Hotel. The Rayang Hotel was a product of the Cold War rivalry between the U.S.-supported South Korea and the Soviet-backed North. The year before construction commenced, the South Korean firm had built what was then the world's tallest hotel, the Westin Stamford in Singapore. The South's capital, Seoul, was meanwhile getting ready to host the 1988 Summer Olympics. But due to engineering problems, it wasn't finished in time for the festival. The building consists of 3 wings, each sloped at a 75-degree angle. converging into a cone encasing the top 15 floors, which are intended for restaurants and observation decks. The pyramidal shape is more aesthetical. That is because the Rayang, unusually for a skyscraper, is made of reinforced concrete rather than steel. Groundbreaking for the hotel was done in 1987 in North Korea's capital, Pyongyang. The pyramid-shaped super-tall skyscraper was to exceed 1,000 feet in height, as well as 5 revolving restaurants with panoramic views. The Rayang Hotel was supposed to open just 2 years later. While the structure reached its planned height in 1992, it stood windowless and hollow for another 16 years, its naked concrete exposed like a menacing monster overlooking the city. During that time, the building, which dwarfs everything else around it, earned itself the nickname Hotel of Doom. Dubai Creek Tower. Dubai Creek Tower work was halted on what could have been the world's tallest skyscraper as the coronavirus pandemic intensified the property market slowdown. Amar Properties, the largest listed developer in the United Arab Emirates, suspected work on all major projects in Dubai, including the tower, billed to be higher than the Burj Khalifa. The government announced legal action would be taken against those who do not comply with restricted mobility. You can also check about the other abandoned megaprojects in the world by producer Fred Mills. Not much is known about when the Dubai Creek Tower construction will resume, but what we do know is that the design is by Swiss naturalized Spanish-born architect Santiago Calatrava. World-famous Calatrava's works are often characterized by highly recognizable identity. His most famous works include the World Trade Center Transportation Hub, also known as the Oculus. Calatrava drew inspiration from the design from the Oculus at the Pantheon in Rome. Another mystery is exactly how tall the Dubai Creek Tower will be when completed. What seems certain is that the tower will exceed the 828 meters of the nearby Burj Khalifa and most likely the 1,008-meter Jeddah Tower in Saudi Arabia. Excavations for the building's foundations went down to a depth of 72 meters, a detail that implies an exceptionally tall construction. Well, this is one building I hope will be completed. Hit the like button if we'll notify you when that happens. Auda National Palace. This royal palace is the biggest mega project that has never been finished. With architecture beginning in 1796, financial roadblocks and numerous wars led to the project being put on hold for over 200 years. Tourists can now visit the monument to marvel at what had been done. It is located on a hilltop in the central part of the parish of Auda, overlooking the historic center of Lisbon and the Tagus River. It was meant to be one of the largest palaces in Europe and the world, but only about 1/5 of the original project was completed. In 1807, when Napoleon's army invaded Portugal, the royal family fled to Brazil and ruled from there for several years, so construction of their palace was interrupted. By the time the royals returned, many nationals preferred that the country become a republic. In 1910, Portugal became a republic. The royals were rendered redundant, and so was the palace. No laughing. It has quite a lavish interior with a flashy decor and several magnificent rooms. The highlights are the audience room and the throne room, the banquet room, and the King Zhao VII room. The room's antiques include a remarkable collection of clocks and a dinner service that is one of the few in Europe that remains completely intact. Golden Finance 117. It's a record China never wanted to hold. When construction began 13 years ago, Golden Finance 117 in Tianjin was going to be the 5th tallest skyscraper ever built. Today, it's probably most well known as the building that daredevils from YouTube climbed. There are mega columns rising along each other for the tower's 4 edges. This visually apparent structural component is designed to make the tower more stable, and at the same time frame the building's aluminum and silver reflective curtain wall on all 4 sides of the tower. The total floor area of the building is 847,000 square meters, including 342,000 of basement. The total floor area of the building is largest for a single building in China. The tower is capped with a striking diamond-shaped atrium which contains an observation deck and a skybar. Despite reaching its full height of 597 meters in 2015, the site was suddenly deserted shortly afterward, and the project remains unfinished to this day. On the surface, it appears that this biggest construction failed because of a series of unfortunate events and a market that tends to favor state-owned companies. San Francisco Shipyard. The U.S. Navy purchased the yard in 1940, a year before the attack on Pearl Harbor. It began operations the next year as the San Francisco Naval Shipyard. and operated until 1974 when it was deactivated and renamed Hunters Point Naval Shipyard. The original docks were built on solid rock. The dry docks were thought to be the largest in the world. At over 1,000 feet in length, they were said to be big enough to accommodate the world's largest warships and passenger steamers. It's difficult to find exact dates when the base was officially closed, but it is obvious nothing has really happened there for quite some time. Used commercially for a time, in 1986 the shipyard was taken over by the Navy again as the home port of the USS Missouri Battle Group under the name Treasure Island Naval Ship Hunters Point Annex. The base was declared redundant as part of the base realignment and closure effort in 1991 and was closed again in 1994. Since then, the site has been part of a Superfund cleanup effort to rehabilitate the remains of decades of industrial and radiological use. Parcels have been sold as they were restored, mostly for condominium development. Herman Tower. At the beginning of the project, the hotel was called the Lifestyle Hotel and then the Herman Hotel, Spa and Residences. The tower was planned to have 400 hotel rooms and approximately 207 condominium residences from 800 to 2,900 square feet on 49 floors. The hotel's pool deck was planned to be on the roof high above the Las Vegas Strip. But in 2011, MGM announced plans to implode the building. The hotel's demolition was approved by a judge in August 2013, as the building represented a threat to public safety due to the risk of collapse and an earthquake. Unlike many Las Vegas properties, the hotel was taken apart floor by floor due to its proximity to other buildings, rather than being imploded. Dismantling of the hotel began in June 2014 and was completed in 2015. The dismantling was expected to cost $11.5 million. In the fall of 2014, a large and complex legal dispute between City Center and the hotel's builders started. Each side accused the other of breaching their contract and sought damages as high as $400 million. The trial was expected to last a year. However, a settlement was reached a few months later. Shocked? Palace of the Soviets. It would have been the world's tallest structure, topped with a 6,000-ton statue of Lenin. The palace included, among other things, a meeting hall for 21,000 people. The building was planned to be located not in the city center, but in the southwest of Moscow. However, that building was never finished, as the country was entering a period in its history known as the Thaw, and was on the verge of another urban planning revolution. That is how the Stalinist empire, with its monumental budgets, forever became a thing of the past. Cincinnati Subway. Almost a century ago, Cincinnati city planners designed an intricate subway system but eventually abandoned it. Today, the tunnel still stands unused beneath the city, and only urban explorers and adventurous photographers frequent the haunted site. Cincinnati's underground railway system was once a grand plan designed to alleviate the city's notorious traffic. The city's economy suffered due to the physical limitations, among other factors. And as the Great Depression waged on and World War II approached, supply costs rose. Access to resources lessened, making the project seem less feasible. The uncompleted subway tunnels and stations have been described as in good shape. This is partially credited to the original construction quality, and partially because Cincinnati needs to maintain the tunnel using tax revenues due to the presence of the Central Park on top of it. In 2008, it was estimated that it would cost $2.6 million to simply keep maintaining the tunnels, $19 million to fill them with dirt, and $100.5 million to revive the passage. Relocating the 52-inch water pipes could cost $14 million. As of August 2016, the abandoned tunnel was used to carry the relocated water main and some optical fiber cables. Hassan Tower. The intimidating Hassan Tower is an incomplete minaret of the Hassan Mosque. This was intended to be the second largest in the 12th century after the Mosque of Saman in Iraq. The Megaproject was under construction in 1195 during the reign of Almohad leader Yaqub el-Mansur. After Mansur's death in 1199, the construction of the Hassan Mosque came to a halt. In 1755, the hall of the mosque was destroyed by a violent earthquake. Only the unfinished tower and some ruins survived the disaster. The complex remains Rabat's must-see site, along with the neighboring mausoleum, that is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Look out for the gorgeous decorative sekba panels on the outside and be sure to visit the extremely photogenic pillar stumps. The dawn and dusk lights cast a particularly lovely hue over the complex, making these the best times to visit. The tower is located in the Quartier Hassan, behind the mausoleum of Muhammad V. It is about 2 kilometers from Rabat's Medina. You may walk there, but there are some busy roads to cross. Taxis are plentiful around Medina, so hail one if the heat or chaos gets to you. Malaysia's Forest City. In 2016, the construction engineering began on the city's office buildings, parks, a transit network, hotels, restaurants, shops, schools, and 250,000 housing units. The property owners mainly come from China, Malaysia, and Singapore. Forest City has also attracted buyers from Vietnam, Indonesia, Taiwan, South Korea, and Japan. While many of its peers, including China Evergrande Group, missed payments on debt obligations and some declared default, Country Garden has kept promises to creditors, as indicated in the full redemption of $425 million of offshore bonds. A top luxury golf course designed by golf legend Jack Nicklaus is set to open in September of 2018. But in April, near 60 home buyers, 70% of whom are Chinese, canceled their leases in Forest City, reportedly due to China's increasing efforts to curb money from leaving the country. Country Garden added that it would not develop Forest City further unless it can prove demand. New York City's Oculus. This structure, with its decidedly extravagant shape, is a major transport hub of the city. It is located underground between Towers 2 and 3 of the World Trade Center. Together with other buildings in the district, the Oculus represents the city's rebirth after the tragic attacks on September 11, 2001, and has a very long and interesting history. On the site where the Oculus now stands, a station called the Hudson Terminal was built in 1909. It remained in operation until the 60s, when work began on the building complex of the World Trade Center and a new WTC station took the place of the Hudson Terminal. After that was destroyed in the 9/11 attacks, the station operated as a temporary structure until the go-ahead was given for the construction of the Oculus. Santiago Calatrava presented the design for the wing and structure in 2004, and construction got underway officially in 2008. It was first partially open to the public and commuters in 2016. While the Oculus's facade is certainly a spectacle, some New Yorkers have noted that the interior, featuring broad swaths of white walls and one large atrium, is quite boring. The $4 billion project has also been criticized for costing twice as much as the original budget. We'd love to pick your mind on this one. Drop us a comment below the video and also hit the like button. Rio's Olympic Park. Officials plan to turn the $700 million Olympic Village into luxury condos after the 2016 Games. They also prepared for an auction to sell the units to private owners. But the reality is, officials lost money on a failed auction, and the site became an abandoned health hazard. Some officials deemed the athletes' village as unlivable and unsafe because of the major plumbing and electrical hazards that were unsolved 2 weeks before the Olympic Games were due to open. Blocked toilets, leaking pipes, exposed wiring, darkened stairwells, and dirty floors were also among the problems reported at some apartments in the complex. The Australian Olympic team boycotted the village for a few days after officials deemed their assigned apartment tower blocks uninhabitable. The team of more than 500 employees of the local Olympic Committee worked to fix the problems reported by the delegations. The Rio Media Center, which was constructed to host visiting media outlets during the Olympics, was demolished in September 2017, and thousands of apartments remain vacant in the Olympic Village. International Business District. The $40 billion district, about the size of downtown Boston, was designed to eliminate the need for cars. The project that began in 2002 in South Korea prioritizes mass transit like buses, subways, and bikes instead of normal road traffic. This is according to Stan Gale, chairman of the Gale International, the developer behind the IBD. While the IBD may be environmentally friendly, some residents have reported that the district is having trouble becoming a vibrant city center. Around 70,000 people work there, which is far fewer than the 300,000 people the city government had envisioned. That's not too bad. You can't blame people for not congesting an anti-congestion system, right? Penn Station. In 1963, Penn Station was kind of dismantled and moved below street level. The cost of the project is unknown, but of course it wasn't cheap. Today's Penn Station is nothing but a gloomy, smelly train station in a basement. The busiest in North America, Penn Station has been called everything from the armpit of the city to New York's commuter hell. The city is now trying to redevelop the station again. Pennsylvania Railroad built the first Pennsylvania station, which opened to the public in 1910. Architects McKim, Mead, and White designed it in the Beaux Arts style, inspired by the baths of Caracalla in Rome. Despite the modest renovations, the underground Penn Station continued to be criticized as reviled, dysfunctional, and a low-ceilinged catacomb lacking charm, especially when compared to the much larger and more ornate Grand Central Terminal. The New York Times, in November 2007 editorial supporting the development of an enlarged terminal, said that Amtrak's beleaguered customers scurry through the underground rooms bereft of light or character. The New York Times transit reporter Michael M. Grimbaum called Penn Station the ugly stepchild of the city's two great rail terminals. After its commencement in the 1960s, ridership exploded in subsequent decades, a situation never contemplated by the structure's designers. By 2010, the station operated at almost 3 times its intended capacity. 450,000 inner-city and commuter riders and 330,000 subway riders used the station daily in 2019. Border wall. The 400-meter fragment of a wall is part of an array of new barrier segments along the Mexican border. It is one of the bizarre and useless projects which contractors rushed to build in the waning days of the Trump administration. Now the incomplete border wall is one of the costliest megaprojects in U.S. history, with an estimated eventual price tag of more than $15 billion. It ignited tensions again as critics urged Biden to tear down parts of the wall and Republican leaders called on him to finish constructing it. The Trump border wall failed for all the predictable reasons. Immigrants used cheap ladders to climb over it or just free climb it. They used cheap power tools to cut through it. They cut small pieces and squeezed through, cut big sections and drove through, and cut the Mexicans did the mega wall. In 2020, they sawed through at least 18 times in one small section, and Border Patrol only knew about it after a month. They also made tunnels, including the longest one ever discovered, and some were short enough just to get past the wall. Superconducting Super Collider. After 22.5 kilometers of the tunnel was dug and nearly $2 billion was spent, the mega project was canceled in 1993 due to budget problems. Also, the project scale was 20 times bigger than anything physicists had ever managed before. Cultural differences between the scientific side of the accelerator's management and the military-industrial culture imposed by the U.S. Department of Energy also led to conflicts. Other hurdles were seemingly endless audits and an overall lack of trust. On October 21, 1993, Congress officially killed the project, leaving behind more than a vacant tunnel in the Texas earth. After the project was canceled, the main site was granted to Ellis County, Texas, who tried numerous times to sell the property. This finally happened in August 2006 to an investment group led by the late J.B. Hunt. In 2009, Collider Data Center contracted with GVA Colley to market the site as a data center. In 2012, chemical company Megablend bought the property and facilities against some opposition from the local community. The buildings in the facility, which had become prime spots for thieves and parties, were renovated and reopened in 2013. The facility makes a range of oil field products for energy service industry. The World Islands. The original intention of building this geographic wonder was to form a miniature version of the Earth with 300 artificial islands that mimic the world's continents. It's reported that the entire reclaimed project will consume 30 million tons of rock and 300 million cubic meters of sand. Dubai was proud to announce to the world that the most basic stage of the ongoing World Island project reclamation and breakwater projects would be completed by the end of 2007. All else would follow in 2008. The developers of World Island did not expect the global financial crisis of 2008. They were also implicated in crime, their capital chain was broken, project possessors had been left stranded, and World Islands became the world's largest unfinished project. The danger of sinking also makes many potential investors dismiss the idea of buying. Only a few islands were completed. The rest is sand. Judging from COVID's situation, this vast project may go under the water. What do you think of all these failed mega developments? Is there any such project in your area? Share your experience in the comments below. Like always, if you enjoyed it, be sure to give us a big thumbs up and leave us some love in the comments section. To keep up to date with all of our awesome videos, be sure to hit subscribe and turn your notifications on to never miss a thing. Until next time, do take care of yourself.